YouTube-kanaal?
En dan om 12 uur, want dat weet ik niet goed. Mensen kunnen toch ook, die livestream komt toch hier ook op? Omdat Davy altijd zeggen dat zit achter een betaalmuur.
Ja, maar ik weet niet welke...
Ik bel hem even, want ik weet het niet goed hoe dat ik het nu moet invoegen eigenlijk. Staat deze micro al op? Nee, hè? Ah ja, nee.
Die staan al op, ja.
Ah ja, maar als ik nu iets zeg, dan hoort Roland dat.
Normaal wel.
Roland, hoort je bij?
Zie.
Hallo, hallo, test.
Goeiedag, welkom bij onze live videoconferentie met Esther Berospe, de CEO van de luiermaker Untitled. Zij leidt CEO sinds begin 2021 en was voordien enkele jaren bestuurder bij het bedrijf. Welkom Esther. Jullie kunnen je vragen stellen aan Esther via de website van de Tijd en dan rollen zij hier gewoon onze studio binnen. I'm glad you could join us to answer some questions of our readers. Now, Untitled has gone through a rough time the last couple of years. First, we had the pandemic, of course. Then we had the war in Ukraine, which is causing a serious rise of inflation, cost inflation, which is hitting your margins. Now, there were a few questions from our readers that we already received beforehand on the strategy. First of all, a question from Stan. He asks, how do you compete with the A brands? And can you elaborate a bit on the technological advances Untitled is making? And are there any innovations in your sector we should know about?
Okay. So first of all, thank you for having me here today. It's a pleasure to be able to have this chat with your readers. On the innovation, for us and for Untitled, over the more than 40 years that we've been operating, it has been very important to have a good cadence of innovation. Because in reality, what we do is we need to offer similar innovation than the A brands with a lower cost because basically our retailers want to position the products that they sell with similar innovation, similar propositions for consumer at a slightly lower cost. So maybe to name two recent innovation launches that we've done is on the one hand on the baby category. We have completely changed the core of the product. It's called ClimaFlex and the objective of this core is to have to use in a way less material, so to have a better performance in terms of absorption, but also skincare, so to make sure that the humidity stays within the core and it doesn't touch the skin of the baby. So with this innovation, we are delivering a better performance in terms of absorption and skincare, and at the same time, better cost because we are using less raw material. It has been launched at the end of last year, and it has been very well accepted by the customers and the final consumer.
It has the same qualities as the A brands.
Yes,
as
and
Diaper.
I would say that we are the only company that can offer a similar level of performance and core technology compared to A brands.
At a cheaper price.
At a cheaper price, yeah. The second innovation is very different because it is directed to the healthcare channel. So this is, the business that we have with hospitals, nursing homes, selling adult products for the elderly people. And basically what we have developed is a solution which goes beyond the product. It is a smart diaper. So it is a very special diaper that has a special link that can connect to a chip, an electronic chip, so that with this we can detect the level of humidity in the diaper, where the humidity is. We connect to an app. So in this case, the nurses or the caregivers can check when the diaper needs to be changed. And with this, not only we reduce the use of diapers, which is reducing waste and reducing cost, but we give better care to the elderly people, especially during the night because they don't need to be awakened just to check if the product needs to be changed. So we are in the phase of testing this solution in different countries with different customers, and the feedback has been extremely positive. We have discovered that not only there is a significant saving in the usage of products in the bed linen needs to be washed less often, but also there is a much better care, and also it allows to have a more efficient use of the time of the nurses. Nurses are today, a scarce.
They don't have much time left, of course.
No, and for the institutions, it's difficult to find nurses. They have really heavy workload. So with this, we expect to also, improve the way they work.
And you're the first to do that?
We are, we are piloting, but there is no this type of solution in the market yet. I would assume that some of our competitors are also developing their own solutions. But this is very exciting innovation because, we would not only sell a product, but a service. And this would allow us to get into more of a kind of a full service solution rather than just selling products.
Chips in diapers, and you have enough chips to make that product?
That's a good question.
Because there is a scarcity in the sector, of course.
That's a good question. Especially since COVID, I need to say that the supply chain has been extremely disrupted. We have gone through ups and downs for different reasons over the past couple of years. And this has forced our company, and I guess every company, to become more agile on the way we manage the overall supply chain. And this is about how we procure raw materials and also how we deliver the products to
Okay. I think there are some questions on that subject later on, because we have another question from Jan Gerard. He says, in Flanders, OVM, you probably know that company. OVM, like its sister organizations in other countries, is promoting washable diapers and discourages disposable diapers. How are you dealing with that trend?
Yes. So
Do you offer washable diapers as well?
Yes. So we offer what we call hybrid diapers, which basically is diapers with two parts. There is an external part that is washable. It's cotton-based kind of exterior, which is washable, and then we offer a disposable interior part.
It's a more durable solution then.
So, and the reason behind, we are looking at fully recyclable products, but today we haven't found, a solution that offers the same level of performance, and performance, especially on baby diapers, is very important. But we have launched this hybrid solution at the end of last year, and I am very excited. And we have launched it with our own brand, Little Big Change, in France and in the Benelux. But now we are in the process to offer it to our customers also.
Okay. Another question, an important one, I think. Reader LVD asks, what is the unique selling point, your unique selling proposition of Ontex? Why do customers such as supermarkets prefer your products?
So I think it's a combination of different things. So on the one hand, we've been doing business very focused on baby, adult, and fem care products for more than 40 years. So there is a certain level of know-how that allows us to have a really good innovation cadence and agility to really follow the trends in the market. So it's a key point. So offering the right innovations with the right level of quality, right cost, and good level of service, which is very important for our customers. The second thing that I would like to mention is our scale and our overall footprint. We have a global scale. We have 19 factories around the globe, and that allows us to really, on the one hand, get to know different consumers, different trends. So be very close to the consumers, leverage some of the trends that are happening in certain areas for offering innovation in other areas. We've been doing that, bringing trends from Europe to the US and vice versa. But also the scale, allows us to offer, a different level of cost. So those would be, if I would think, the really deep product innovation and our footprint would be, I would say, an asset compared to other competitors in the industry.
Durable company.
Yes.
Laura K asks, what was the impact of Corona? And then another question, what about the war in Ukraine, which makes the prices of raw materials go up? Maybe first, the first part of the question, the impact of Corona on Ontex? And is there still an impact?
So I would say that there is. I don't think it's over, to be honest. There was a huge impact at the beginning. We had to learn to become more agile on everything, on the way we worked in the offices, on the way we worked with our customers and suppliers. But I think the organization was very resilient and open to change the way of working. And, we have had specific moments in which the situation was very critical, but I think we have always reacted very fast and kind of normalized our operations in a very fast manner. So all in all, when I look back over the past 2 years, I think the level of service that we have provided with our customers has been very high. Our factories remained open all the time. Of course, in certain moments, we had a very high level of absenteeism driven by the level of infections, especially in certain markets. But all in all, I think we always reacted very fast. And, the common...
and you also produced mouth caps at a
yes,
certain
and
moment.
then, in fact, very good. Thank you for reminding me. We basically acquired a machine to produce masks in one of our factories in
Do you still
Belgium.
do that?
Not anymore. So we have done it massively during the pandemic period, but not anymore. The demand has gone down dramatically, and we prefer to focus on other...
Okay, let's hope the worst of the pandemic is over.
But the machine is ready in case of need.
In case of emergency,
yes.
Yeah. Maybe on the war on Ukraine and your position in Russia and Ukraine, can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, I think there are two aspects on that question. One is, the business in Russia and Ukraine, and the second, what is the impact on the raw material cost. On the first one, we have a local-for-local business in Russia. It is around 5% of our revenues, 100 million euro business. We have a factory in Noginsk, very close to Moscow. And basically, it's a local-for-local business, so it serves
it's still operational.
Business. We have a very small business also in Ukraine with a very small commercial organization that was supplied basically from Russia and also from some of the European factories. The first thing for us has been a focus on the safety of our employees, and I am happy to report that all our people in Ukraine are safe. And we have completely resumed our operations in Ukraine, and in Russia we have stopped all our investments. So we had planned significant investments in the region, so we have stopped everything. The plant is operational, but at a much lower scale. On the one hand, because it is difficult to procure raw materials, so the key raw materials that are not present in the local market. But second is because we are really focusing on producing the very, very necessary materials to serve the population.
But you're not
basically baby diapers and adult.
You're not thinking about selling the Russian factory.
So we continue to monitor the situation. The situation is changing every day, and we continue to adjust our plans based on the situation. Right now, we continue to operate.
Okay, speaking on geography, Jos V has another question. He asks, in USA, Untitled is expanding with a new production facility, but he says, the labor market in the US is very tight. Do you find enough employees? And how important is the USA in your strategy? So
starting from the last question, the US is very important in our strategy. It's one of our core markets. It is a 15 billion market. It's almost the same size than the total Europe. And it is interesting because we have a smaller position compared to Europe, where we are, the leading manufacturer on retailer brands. But also because there is a big opportunity for retailer brands to continue to grow, because the share of retailer brands in the total market in the US is smaller than in Europe.
And why is that?
Mainly driven by the fact that the strategy of retailers has been more on selling very basic products. So they have not been offering the same level of innovation of A brands like retailers in Europe have been doing. And what we are doing is we are bringing the great portfolio of products that we have in Europe to North America. So we are in a way disrupting the market and bringing solutions that in Europe have been selling for many years, like channels, like pants, into the North American market that was offering more basic products.
So you see more growth in North America than in Europe.
And it is a combination of growing market share, but also there is another business that is very important for us. We call it lifestyle brands. These are premium brands that offer natural, sustainable products. Sometimes also they are focusing on recycling and compostability. It is all about good for you, good for the planet. And we have a very strong position historically in that segment with around 50% market share. We have many customers, and we see those customers growing very rapidly. Those customers sell or go to market digitally, online. and they are starting to be very present also on the big retailers. And this is also a vehicle for us for growth. So historically, to answer the question on the factory, historically we've been serving this business from a factory that we have in the border between the U.S. and Mexico in Tijuana. But now, because the business is growing so fast, we have decided that we need to have a local production. So we will continue using our facility in Mexico, especially to cover the West Coast. But we are now in the process of actually, we have already opened a new plant in North Carolina, and we are already shipping.
It's just operational then?
It is operational, and we are already shipping. We started production at the beginning of the year, and we have started shipments in Q2.
Okay, so it's good to see that you're still expanding. But
the market is difficult. To answer to the question, the U.S. market is very difficult. The level of unemployment is very low, and it is not easy to find to staff. But of course, we need to make sure that we are competitive, and at this point we are operational with 2 lines, and of course the objective is to continue to grow and to fill in the facility.
Okay. Herman Bullens has a question on China. To what degree are you dependent on raw materials from China?
We do source and historically have sourced materials from China, but not a lot, to be honest. It's not a big portion of the materials that we supply. We've always had multiple sources especially for the key raw materials, and typically we would always have sources, sourcing or suppliers close to where we produce, and also sometimes, suppliers that are farther away. So we are not extremely dependent on China, and typically we have multi-sourcing. So we continue to adjust the suppliers and how to load different suppliers depending on the situation.
So it's good to hear that the lockdowns in Shanghai and the rest of China as having a very limited impact on Ontex then.
Yeah, very limited impact on raw materials, maybe a little bit more on the vessels. So the biggest challenge, because the supply chain is disrupted for 2 reasons. On the one hand, is there is a scarcity of raw materials, so there is higher demand compared to the supply, and that creates tension. And this will normalize step by step, but it will take some time. The second big challenge that we faced is scarcity on transportation. And this has been a greater issue compared to the raw materials, like just difficulties to find vessels to move the goods on the water and trucks. And this lockdown had an impact on that, but we had already moved our supply mostly to Europe and the US, so closer to the factories to prevent that, because that had been an issue already before the lockdown.
Okay. Another question is, did you ever think about a good brand name? Because you especially produce for retailers under their name. Do you have own brand names?
Yes. So we do have... So basically, up to now, we've had 3 business models. On the one hand, we are, the leading supplier for retailer brands in Europe. So basically, we produce for all the brands of the big retailers across the different geographies. The second piece is the healthcare business, so basically supplying hospital, nursing homes, and also the specialized retailers like pharmacies. And in that business, we have our own brands like ID, that we sell mostly in West and Northern Europe, and Serenity mostly on the South Europe. So you need to have your brands because you go on specialized retails and they don't have their own private labels. And the third business was our own brands, the traditional branded business. So basically having brands and with all the marketing activities on the brands. So last year, at the end of last year, we decided that the complexity, our business was too complex. Not so much because of the geographies that we serve, but because each business model has a different approach and requires different capabilities. So we have decided to focus on what we do best and where we have a strong position, which is retailer brands or partner brands, which is retailer brands and also lifestyle brands. So serving the brands of others, and then the healthcare channel that is evolving. And we see a migration from consumption in institutions, so people being taken care in elderly homes or hospitals to more home care, and with that is also an evolution on our go-to-market. And as a consequence of that, we are in the process of divesting our traditional branded business. So to the question is more focus on others brands and specialized brands and less on the mass own brands.
So we can hear something about it in the near future, perhaps.
Yes.
Okay. Another question is, we had several questions regarding your cost savings programs. Noel asks, Ontex has gone through several cost savings programs, including on materials, services sourced from third parties. And he thinks that you were known as being tough to your suppliers. I don't know whether it's true. And his main question is it possible that your suppliers and external providers have in the current sellers markets disproportionately penalized Ontex? For example, by not giving you priority access or by charging more than your more than to Ontex than to competitors, for example?
It's difficult to say if we are being more penalized than others. The reality is that there is a scarcity of materials in the market. I do believe that we have good relationships with our suppliers. My objective is to have strategic partnerships and relationship with suppliers where, of course, there is always some tension because we need to be cost competitive. Our customers are demanding a very competitive cost, but at the same time, it is more than ever, it is important to partner with suppliers because we see an acceleration on and an evolution on the use, the type of raw materials that are being used. On the one hand, to be more cost effective, but also for sustainability. There is a big transition, and for me, the only answer is to partner with suppliers and to work together to develop the right products so that we can continue to be more sustainable. So the answer I would say is no. I don't think we've had issues with suppliers because being tough with them in the past.
Okay. Simon has another question on the costs. In your annual report, you claim that you will remain agile. He says, is there room for further cost cutting?
Yeah, I do believe that there is always room for cost improvement. What I did, one of the first things that I did when I arrived a year and a half ago is, to put in place a program that would allow us to change the way we work and to implement a continuous improvement type of mindset and to look at cost in a different way, not so much in silos, but across the board. And maybe I can give you a couple of examples. So with this program, which is programs that is necessary to survive in many industries, you can continue to deliver cost improvement every year. Our objective is to reduce our cost by 4% every year. And we did that in 21 and we continue to do so in 22. So maybe a couple of examples of this is, on the one hand, is with the scarcity of raw materials, looking at designs of products that are use less material, and as a consequence, you reduce the cost. So 20 years ago, your baby diapers and fem care products and adult products were you really using a lot of fluff and were very thick products. And over time, they have evolved to being, using less material, more sophisticated cores that have a high level of absorbency with channels, using different types of absorbents, and as a consequence, we produce products that are more better performance, more discreet for consumers, and at the same time lower cost.
Yeah. Simon also asks, does that have an impact on your margins? Is that positive for the margins?
On the cost reduction actions, or yes.
Yes, and using less resources to make a diaper.
No, of course, the objective is to reduce the cost and improve the margin. So typically, part of the cost improvement you pass to the market, to the consumers, and to the customers, and part is to improve margins. So definitely, and of course, it's always about sustainability, using less raw materials. The second example that is a little different would be to look at the total cost to serve. So not looking at procurement, manufacturing, and logistic in isolations, but looking at the lowest cost to serve, and that has led us to look at our footprint and making our factories maybe more specialized on the products that are sold closer to that plant. But also in the factories, looking at how can we become more efficient in each of the factories by improving the output of each of our machines, assets, and also reducing the waste of materials, which is a burden in the industry.
Yeah, very important, of course, at this moment to reduce CO2 emissions.
Yes.
Luc V has a question on your balance sheet. He says, how is Esther looking at the goodwill on the balance sheet, as it is a considerable amount, which investors do not like?
More than goodwill, I think it refers to depth, maybe. Could it be the depth, the level of depth that we have?
There are some other questions regarding the debt level as well. So
no,
I don't know how...
On the goodwill,
is there a lot of goodwill on your balance?
No, I mean, the goodwill is fully in line. I mean, we don't have problems with goodwill. This is something that is, as a publicly listed company, is checked at a yearly basis and audited. And typically there are, ways to calculate whether the goodwill that you have in the balance sheet is in line with the business that you have, and I can confirm that we monitor that normally, and it is fully in line with the business that we have. So do you want me to
No,
it's
perfect. Another question rolls in from Simona VD. She asks, is Indontex active in too many regions, because you're really a global supplier, and there must be big differences between markets? And then another question that you already responded, do we have activities in Russia? So we covered that. But are you active in too many regions?
Yeah, great question. So yes, we are active in many regions, but the complexity is not created by the number of regions that you serve, but the different business models. And in fact, as I commented yesterday, what we have decided is to simplify the business models and to continue to supply different regions. Typically, there are differences, of course, on consumer preferences, I would say, because the need is universal. Consumer preferences and also links to the level of income that you have in the different regions. But all in all, we sell similar products in the different regions, and I do see serving different regions as an opportunity and as an asset. Maybe different from other competitors that are more local, because it allows us to leverage. So to have a global research and development team footprint, we have kind of what we call global product platforms. So we use the same chassis of products for all the regions, and move innovation from region to region, because typically innovation move from east to west. So very often we move some of our innovation solutions from Europe to North America and also Latin America.
Okay. Another question rolls in on the debt level. Guido V asks, what about your debt level? I think it's risen above 5 at this moment. And isn't the increase in interest rates that we are seeing now problematic?
Yes. So the debt level has been an issue since I started. And when I arrived, I gave myself 3 main objectives for the short term. One is, as I arrived, our revenues had declined for several years. So my objective was to stop the revenue decline, to stabilize the revenues, and find a path back to growth. And I'm very proud we are doing very well, and maybe I can come back to that. The second was to reduce the cost and to become more cost effective, and we are making good progress. And the third main objective was to reduce the level of debt. Because in itself, a high level of debt is not a bad thing as far as you have a plan to reduce it. And I do believe that, especially in the current environment with, the high level of volatility, it is the level of debt it's a risk, it's a challenge.
Can you do something about it?
So on the one hand, what we did last year is to refinance completely our debt using different instruments. So in the past, we had only term loans. And in the middle of last year, we refinanced completely the debt, and most of our debt now is a bond instrument with maturity 2026, with a very low interest rate, and that's kind of fixed. And a smaller portion of the debt is a term loan. with a level of interest that is following the Euribor. But this is a very small portion of the debt, and of course that will be impacted by the raise in interest. But we are working on reducing the debt. On the one hand, through the EBITDA margins that we will produce, but also we didn't talk about that as a consequence of our strategy and the decision of defocusing from the traditional branded business. We are in the process of divesting those businesses. And
can you elaborate on that? The
finish on
process?
the debt that we will use the proceedings to pay down debt, especially the term loan, so that we can only have the bond which has a long maturity. On the divestments, yes, we have 3 files open that are progressing very well. The files are, one is the business in Mexico, the other one is Brazil, and the last one is Middle East and Africa. This is the branded business that account for around 30% of our revenues. And we are getting very good level of interest. Some of the files are more advanced than others, but I would expect some outcome in the near future.
Okay, we'll hear about that then. We received lots of questions regarding the preliminary talks you're having with American industrial partners regarding the possible merger with one of their companies, the hygiene products producer Adindas. How are these talks evolving? And Simon Segers also asks any news about the merger with AIP. Another reader, Stefan, asks, there were takeover rumors. That's, of course, something else. Maybe first on the merger.
So maybe a couple of words on AIP Adindas. AIP is a private equity, American industrial partners based in the US. They have many different companies, basically operating in our industry in a similar way. So they are mostly focused on retailer brands and healthcare. They have operations both in the US and in Europe, and the two companies are extremely complementary. So as on the one hand, as we execute our strategy, on the one hand is reshaping the company and divesting the businesses that are non-core, but at the same time we are looking at opportunities that could help us accelerate and enhance our strategy. The main focus is executing the strategy, and not necessarily we need to have a combination to do that, but of course we always.
But you see it as a good fit.
Yes, there is a good fit. So the discussions are at a preliminary stage. We are talking to AIP.
But you met them already, of course.
Yes, of course. We are talking to them and assessing what form or shape this combination could have, and whether we can find a solution that creates value and works for all the parties. So nothing too concrete now, but of course we will communicate as things evolve.
Okay. S asks, there were also some takeover rumors about Ontex earlier this year. Can you provide an update on the status of those talks? I don't know how.
No, I think, honestly speaking, I cannot comment on rumors, but I do believe that our company is undervalued today. I am convinced that there is a huge opportunity for improving our performance, and as a consequence of that, it is an opportunity for a potential takeover, and that's why, in my view, there are a lot of rumors, but nothing confirmed, and I cannot comment on any rumors.
Okay, you say it's undervalued. Luc V asks, what is a fair value for the Ontex share for you?
I think it's difficult. I do believe that there is actually, if I go back to the midterm targets that we gave ourselves, we said that I do see this company growing every year with a steady growth. We gave ourselves a target to 2 to 3% every year. The reality is that this year we are growing at a pace of mid-double digits, so 15-16%, so it's much more than what we thought. Also because there is inflation and pricing plays a key role. But we see good growth, and I do believe that as we focus on certain geographies, certain categories, we will see this company growing, and that's important because it's the engine. between the growth and the better mix, because we are focusing on categories that are accretive in terms of margin, and the cost reduction efforts, our margins will expand. In the short term, we see a hit of inflation. So inflation and the cost of...
Can you pass that through?
We can pass that through. And the challenge that we see is we have the plans to fully offset and enhance our margins. It's just the speed with which we can execute our plans in terms of growth and cost reduction versus the violent hit of inflation. It's just a disconnection in terms of timing. But step by step, we will catch up, and then we will continue to deliver our strategy and enhance the margins.
I guess it's not easy to talk to the supermarket chains at this moment.
Yeah,
if you want to increase your prices.
No, but of course, price increases are a must. There is no way to fully offset inflation with cost and growth. So we are in the process of increasing our prices everywhere, and we will continue doing so as needed. It's just that again, the speed it takes time. You need to negotiate. You need to implement. There is a time gap between being hit with a very aggressive increase of the cost on everything that we manage. It's not only raw materials. It's raw materials, it's packaging, it's transportation, it's electricity, it's everything. Versus how fast you can offset. But in the medium term, of course, we will fully offset and we will continue to enhance margins. And as we do that, I do believe that our share price will develop, and I do believe that it will be more exponentially.
Okay, let's hope so, because your share price is very resilient this year. You are positive since New Year, which is much better than the indexes, of course, at this moment. Regarding the future of Ontex, Linda VW asks, how are the relations with your main shareholder, the holding GBL? Did they indicate they want to sell their participation, or rather increase it through a delisting, for example? Can you say something about that?
As far as I understand, they have not indicated anything. The relationship has always been very good. It is very good. We have a representation of GBL in our board of directors. GBL has always been very supportive of the company, and they continue to support the company. So no.
Okay, you already talked a lot about Ontex and your strategy. Steph VD asks, why should I stay on board as a shareholder?
I do believe that there is a huge potential for developing the company, and as a consequence, the share price will develop. So I am convinced that we will create value for our shareholders going forward.
Okay. Giselle has another question. You already talked a bit about it. What about selling your activities in South America? Where exactly are you in that process?
Yeah, we are. So we started at the end of last year as we announced the new strategy. We have engaged advisors, 3 different advisors for the 3 files that we are managing. So as I said, Mexico, 1 file, Brazil, and Middle East and Africa. And we have got already non-binding offers, and we are in the process, due diligence process. So we have made the selection. It is a competitive bidding process, and we are in.
So it's already relatively far
advanced.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
You never know with these processes, but it is well advanced. Yeah.
Okay. Jens asks, is there a certain country or region where you plan to invest more aggressively? You already talked about the US. Are there other regions?
Yes, I think if I had to say, it's mostly if I think about 2 things where we will invest heavily is US and adult as a category. So in the US, we are making significant investments. We are opening a new plant. We are bringing complete new lines on baby, fem care, and in the future adult. As I said, it's a huge market, and I do believe that we can disrupt the market with our innovation and have a very good growth. Adult as a category is the second area where we will focus our investments, because the population is aging. So we will have more and more consumers in the segment. People live for longer period of time, and people stay more active longer. So there is a need of our products, and also there is
The demography helps you, of
the
course.
The demography helps dramatically, and also there is an evolution of the type of products that are consumed. So it's a big opportunity for growth and innovation in that category, and that's why we are focusing investments on the different channels, on retail, but also on the institutions, as I commented before, with the smart diaper. And then the last piece where we are focusing significantly investments, that today is mostly US, but I guess and I believe that it will move into Europe, is these lifestyle brands, these kind of premium, strong purpose type of brands that, in my view, the new generations...
More durable diapers, or
it's more,
it's more than diapers.
It's more than diapers. It's sustainable diapers that are good for the planet. It's about taking care of the babies, and these brands are growing very, very fast in the US, and we see a trend of coming into Europe.
Okay. Luc V asks, how does Untitled experience the discussions with retailers? And you already talked about that, but is there any difference in the attitude of the retailers in Europe versus the USA? Or is it similar?
No, I don't think... the retailers retailers are pretty well organized, and they have sophisticated organizations, good capabilities. No,
the Yankees are not harder than the Europeans.
No, I don't think. No, I don't think there is a significant difference between Europe and the US. If then you would think about more Latin America or the emerging markets, there is a significant difference because the retail environment is much more fragmented. So typically you deal with smaller organizations, but I don't see big differences between the US and Europe.
Okay. Linda asks, maybe she's a shareholder and a bit concerned, when do you see room to pay a dividend again?
Good question. I think it's difficult to say at this point. I think we need to focus on improving the financial structure of the company first. So that we can have a very healthy business.
Reducing your debt first.
Yes, I think this is my main objective at this point. Of course, the decision on dividends is a board decision, but up to now, in the last couple of years, the board didn't consider appropriate to distribute dividends, considering the level of debt that we have. But I would expect, with the divestments, to be able to significantly reduce the level of debt, and then we'll see.
Okay, maybe in a couple of years then. Or sooner, who knows. Bert wonders whether you can create more value for the shareholders on a standalone basis rather than merging.
So the question is whether we can create more value?
Yes.
And that's
is Untitled viable on a standalone basis, and would that create value for the shareholders?
Definitely, and in fact, definitely. My strategy is on a standalone basis. And I do believe that we will create significant value. But of course, we always look at potential combinations, whether we can accelerate that value creation. And the reason why we are in discussions is because we need to make sure that this makes sense for Untitled shareholders, at least from our side. Of course, the IP, we look at their interest. So we need to make sure that if we reach an agreement, it's something that will accelerate and create more value than on a standalone basis. Okay. Otherwise, we wouldn't do it.
And LVD asks, isn't your, maybe a rough question, isn't your business model outdated? There is so much competition, he adds.
Okay, so I think there are two questions in one. Yes, there is competition, but this is maybe...
and it's not tougher than a couple of years ago? Or?
I think, in my view, competition is good because it forces you to get better and better. And this could be perceived as a made sentence.
And has the competition got harder the last couple of years or not?
The competition is hard, but not only from the manufacturing perspective, but from the retail landscape perspective. The biggest challenge that we face, especially on the baby category, is like retailers use this category to compete against each other. They used to generate traffic because families with babies are very loyal, because typically the basket value is it's much higher. So there is a lot of...
we often see in Belgium, buy one, get a second for free.
So that's the challenge, no? So that this category is extremely competitive, maybe more than the other categories. I think competition, it's hard, and the solution and the recipe is always be better than them. And I believe that we have, all the principles to do so. There was a second part of the question, which is the business model. I mean, whether the business model is obsolete. I don't believe so. I think the only thing that I think we need to watch and to have a clear strategy is, the go-to-market. Because the go-to-market, the needs of consumers are the same. These are universal, and it's a good thing, because even in crisis times, even maybe if there is recession, we could even benefit from that, because we sell necessary products that will be used on an ongoing basis at an affordable price. And we see today, with the level of inflation, not only in emerging markets but in mature markets, a shift of demand from A brands to slowly, but a shift to private labels. So private labels are gaining market share. So,
which is very beneficial for you,
which is
of
beneficial
course.
for Ontex, and it's moving slowly, but I do believe that this trend will continue as far as we can offer, the good solutions. The question is more on making sure that we continue to evolve the type of products to as the population needs evolve, more discreet. As I said, the population being more active, especially on adult, more discreet products. And also we need to watch on the go-to-market, because we do see a shift to online. From the traditional in-store purchase to online, and I do believe that with the new generations this will accelerate, and every year we see more and more sales doing online, and we need to make sure that we work with our customers so that they are well equipped to gain their fair share in that channel.
Okay. Maybe the old Ontex owner, Bart van Malderen, has created his own diaper company. Is that a serious competitor for you? Do you see it as
of course,
the same threat as a Procter & Gamble or Kimberly-Clark, for example?
I mean, it is one of our competitors, and it is a good competitor, and we continue to work in order to be better than them. But of course, yes, it is a competitor, and it's a very valid competitor.
Okay. Maybe a last question. Simona asks, do you have Ontex shares yourself?
Good question. So, a big portion of my compensation is a very significant portion is on shares. So all my long-term incentive is based on share-based. Not nowadays, even if I would like to purchase shares, because I do believe that our share price is undervalued because of all the projects that we are working on. It is difficult because I am aware of all the projects. So as you know, as a publicly listed company, there is a significant amount of scrutiny, and we need to make sure that we stay compliant with the regulation. So it is not a good moment for me. So it would be a good moment for me to purchase, but unfortunately, it's not.
It's not allowed at this moment. But let's hope that you and your team can create some additional value for all the shareholders. Thank you very much. It was really a pleasure to have you with us, and there were some very interesting questions, and of course, very interesting answers.
Thank you for having me here. A pleasure.
Okay. Dank jullie. We zien jullie graag terug volgende keer om met een volgende CEO te babbelen. Dag. Ja, ik had geen outro.